What's your connection with Shmuel?
Rabbi Shmuel Bowman and I met in 2012, and we just became fast friends. I was with a foundational trip. I'm a political activist for Israel. I'm one of the few Christians that are in leadership with AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. So I'm a policy analyst, political analyst, and I'm 100% Israel. I've been studying the Middle East almost all my life. And I was with AIPAC, their foundation in Israel, and was introduced to Rabbi Shmuel, and we just quickly became friends. He was like, I call him my rabbi. We just became quick friends, him and his beautiful wife, Leah. And one of the most fantastic experiences I had with him is many times I would go back to Israel, we would always get together. And he would tour me down we would go down to the kibbutzes in southern Israel at the Gaza border. I've been down there like every year for the last 10 years, 12 years. But one of the most memorable experiences that I think really speaks to the situation in Israel is there are Palestinians and Jews that live side by side in peace and have for years. It was Independence Day, and I was staying at their home.
Israeli Independence Day.
It was Israel Independence Day. I was staying at their home in Efrat. Rabbi Shmuel had a new barbecue grill. He was looking forward to using it. He didn't have the connection to hook it up to the gas tank. So we went down to the hardware store. He said, if you ever wanted to meet the Palestinian Authority, yes. Well, here you are. This is a Palestinian hardware store. And I'm here, the Christian woman from the South is here with the Jewish rabbi. We're in the Palestinian hardware store, and I'm watching the Palestinian and my rabbi friend arguing about what connection to have for the barbecue grill for Israel Independence Day.
What does that? What was the irony of that?
The irony of that is the world media has always been always against each other, And here you have them, they living side by side, working side by side. I watched the construction crews building the Jewish villages, and the owner of the hardware store where the supplies are bought was Palestinian. The workers were Palestinian. And the rabbi tells me, oh yeah, the best Thai restaurant is in the Palestinian village down the street. So there's a whole nother community of them living and working side by side that the media and the politicians never talk about.
So Palestinian advocates in North America and the West, they claim, well, if we establish a Palestinian state, then the Jews will be able to live peacefully among a Muslim rule. Islamist, jihadist, Muslim rule. What do you think about that?
Well, unfortunately, having been an analyst for many years on the Middle East and Israel, and also being a political activist for Israel, I know that it's the leadership of the Palestinians that's the problem. Because the leadership is having the schools teach the young children to hate, to go against, to kill, to hate the Jews, that all the land is yours, it's right of return. And they're taught these things, but you have this other whole economy, the Palestinian people themselves that are businessmen that only want to prosper. They want to live and work side by side in peace, and they want to have an economy. But you've got that leadership that has that hatred of the Jews. They want Israel eliminated and all the Jews killed. But it's not all Muslims. It's that Palestinian radical jihad leadership. That the Palestinian Authority teaches the kids to hate just like Hamas did. That's why you can't talk about a Palestinian state until you have a radical, excuse the word, shift of leadership.
But Palestinians who were polled after the October 7th massacres and bombings supported Hamas, both in Gaza and in the West Bank, where Rabbi Shmuel lives.
And that is why you can never have a two-state solution. Because how can you have a state next to someone with a state when you don't even recognize their right to exist?
Because the Palestinians don't want just a Palestinian state in Judea and Samaria, in West Bank and Gaza?
That's right. They do not. They do not believe that Israel has any right to exist at all. So you can't have a border with somebody that you don't think should exist.
Is their goal to conquer Israel?
Their goal is completely to conquer Israel. Their goal is to completely, the river to the sea has a meaning, is to wipe out all of Israel, to completely take it over. This two-state solution that the U.S. administration...
When you say the U.S., you mean the Democrat?
Yes, the Biden administration, this two-state solution, Anthony Blinken, that they do not have any knowledge of they do not have an understanding of the theocracy and of the belief in the charter of Hamas as well as the Palestinian Authority. They're working off another realm that is not in reality on the ground.
Or maybe they do know and they're in favor of it.
I would never want to think that they are anti-Semitic and want Israel wiped out, but you look at what they do against Netanyahu. Back when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, she had her political minions on the ground trying to oust Benjamin Netanyahu in that election. And that has continued constantly, and now even openly in an election year in America, you've got Joe Biden talking about a two-state solution and also bad-mouthing Bibi Netanyahu and going against Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, who is our deepest friend. America is in great danger when America turns from Israel. And they've walked this fine line, the Democrats have, and now, just recently, in the winter, fall and winter, now we're in 2024, they're going off the deep end, and they're going to pay a price for it. Politically, if not otherwise. Because you cannot empower enemies of Israel.
And would you say that to people who are not even necessarily people of faith, that logistically and geopolitically, that sacrificing Israel would be perilous to global stability?
It is total global stability because the enemy of all of us is Iran. And it's always been about Iran. Iran has killed. You go back in the 1980s, you look at how long America has really been at war with Iran, but it's never been spoken out loud. You look at the Beirut embassy bombings, the Marine barrack bombings.
1989.
All the way back then, all the way through, one after the other, and America never did retribution for it. There was never a price to be paid, and they continually you can trace all the terror attacks and the mass murder of Americans, not only in America, but really throughout the world. You can tie it back to Iran, you can tie it back to Syria, who have always been partners in terror. So they are the geopolitical threat, and it's a theocracy. They cannot be negotiated with, and that is what the Obama-Biden administration do not understand. You can't negotiate with terrorists, and you've got to stop funding terrorists.
This isn't purely a church matter, or someone belongs to they're a Presbyterian or Episcopal, whose movements may support the Palestinians and a Palestinian state and are against Israel, against Zionists. It's not just about Israel. This is also about supporters of Israel. Are you concerned about the movement in the U.S. and other Western countries?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they say they're against Israel, but I was in Iraq for 2 years.
Operation Desert Storm?
Yeah, I was at the end of it. I was actually an auditor with the Special Inspector General. I was there as a civilian, but I went there because I knew that I had to know the truth on the ground, and I knew it was Iran we were battling in Iraq. It wasn't the Iraqi people. And I knew what I knew because I've been studying for so long, but I found the truth on the ground. You have to understand that Iran believes that they are going to have Islamic control over the world. They want Israel's first. It's first the Saturday people, then the Sunday people. It's first the Jews, then the Christians. But if you look what's happening in Africa right now, as the attacks of the Jews is happening, right now the Christians are being massacred in Africa.
In Nigeria, Sudan,
across.
Congo.
All over, and the news media is not covering it.
Not a peep.
They're attacking. It's the Judeo-Christian foundation of America that's under attack. It's the Jews in Israel and across the world, and it's the Christians across the world simultaneously. And our news media is at fault for not reporting this.
Is there an historic precedent for authoritarian movements to try to quell religion in terms of revolutions for authoritarianism? Can you think of any in the 20th century?
Well, it's just the constant move towards Marxism, and you look at China. Get rid of the religion. Marxism, get rid of the religion. Government control by getting rid of religion so that people don't have freedom, so that people don't think for themselves. And look at the attacks in America that we're under. If you don't think the way we want you to think, you may be under attack. You're going to be censored. You're going to be banned. You're going to be canceled. You're going to be attacked. You might even get charges filed against you. It's completely Marxist. You look at Germany. When you look back at just the history of the Jewish people, being expelled from Spain, being expelled from the nations, then you had the Gestapo and what they did against the Jewish people. A lot of people will compare what's happening in America now to the conservative Christians, the Gestapo tactics being used. Thank you. So you think about the Jews are under attack again, the Christians are under attack again, and anybody who's willing to stand up against that is being under attack.
In what way are Christians under attack?
Freedom of speech, being banned, being canceled, being...
No, for saying what kinds of things?
Well, you look at, for instance, politically, okay, the conservative Christian right that is behind President Trump. You look at the massive attacks. You look at the January 6th. You look at how there's people who were having their bank accounts closed, losing their jobs. Is there anything if you dare to stand up against? And it depends on what state you're in. If you're in a conservative state, you feel safe. If you're in a Democrat state, run state, you don't feel safe anymore.
So everyone's moving to Alabama?
Tennessee, Florida, Alabama. Yeah.
Do you see yourself as a Dietrich Bonhoeffer in a way, traditionally? You know, the German, the good German, who stood up and protected the Jews of his country, of Europe?
May the Lord give me that assignment. In any way that I could fulfill anything to be even, yes, all the assignments I'm given, even in political, when I go into the Congress several times a year to advocate for Israel policy, for the defense funding, defense security aid funding, all the bills that we have for Israel. I say, Lord, why would you take somebody like me and put me in the halls of Congress in Washington, D.C. to get bills passed? The most unlikely of unlikelies. Well, he doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And he calls us to these particular assignments, and every assignment he's giving me has been for the protection of Israel. So even though, I mean, the assignment, they may be strange, they may be unusual, you wouldn't think it would be me, but if the Lord puts something in your heart and tells you to go, you have to go, because you never know how he's going to use you to make a difference.
But is it for the expressed intention of trying to convert the Jews to Christianity?
No, it's not. It's our mandate to protect the Jewish people. That is our roots. Jesus was a Jew. My Jewish friends, I have a lot of Jewish friends in the political realm that have never been exposed to a Christian. They live in their communities. They've never been exposed to a Christian.
Because we're afraid.
Yeah, because they've been taught to be afraid. They've been taught they don't trust. They don't know what your intentions are. And I sit down with love, total love, God's love, and just be their friend and love on them and stand right side by side in the halls of Congress with them. And when they really ask me and they really bear down, really, what are you doing here? I said, my Jesus was a Jew. That blows their mind. Most of them have never heard that before. They've never. And I said, look at our Testament. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. If you've ever looked at our book, we read your book all the time. But if you look at our book, it starts, our three main gospels start with Abraham, We've got to let the Jewish people, as Christians, we have to let the Jewish people know that we are here to stand with them and to support them and love them as our brothers and sisters. And it's not an alternative motive. It's not about evangelizing. It's not about that. It's just being here and standing in God's love.
How about in action? So you are rare in that you go and you work with AIPAC on behalf of the Jewish nation, and I mean that Am Yisrael, the people of Israel. Are Christians doing enough, or what could they be doing? What ought they be doing?
Christians have got to be more politically involved. That is the biggest fault of the Christian community. Whether they think they don't vote, they believe this lie that they've been told about this separation of church and state. You can't get involved in politics. You can't speak politics from the pulpit. Yes, you can. You can talk about issues. You can talk about Israel. My church, every Sunday, you'll see thousands of Israel flags flying every Sunday in our church. Now, those churches that support Israel, that this is what a Zionist looks like, I like to say, we're under attack. We'll be coming under attack. So we're standing up in the strength and the full armor of God, because we're going to stand with Israel and going to stand with the Jewish people. And that goes for all of Christians, because we're protecting the Holy Land. They're protecting our Judeo-Christian heritage for America.
And our ethics.
And
live and let live.
Live and let live. Well, I don't know the context of that, but it's...
Love thy neighbor as you love thyself. Don't try to kill or convert or kill your neighbor.
Absolutely. That's Islam. That's Islamists. Now, there's Islam, there's a little difference there, a little differentiation. But yes, no, we are to love and show God's love, and we win people to Christ just through showing God's love. Not through being abrasive, not through any forceful, not through anything like that, but we're just here to show God's love, and that's what we're here to do. So
nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I wasn't sure where that was going. Thank you very much. It was nice to meet you.
18 minutes. Went by quick, didn't it?
Yeah,
it seemed like an eternity.
Out of there. Yeah.
I'm going to cut this into a lot of different stories. Yeah.
There's a lot of stories in there.
You're probably famous already.
No, I do a show on Facebook several nights a week, and I have a nice large loyal following.
You'll have more after this, I hope.
Yeah.
To reach Jewish people.
Really? Oh, it's to reach Jewish people. Okay. Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know. But no, getting the Christians to stand up in political and to have a voice to Congress, that is a big assignment I have. That's a big task that I have, is training the Christians to get involved in politics so they can have a voice to their government for Israel. Because it doesn't need to be just the Jews speaking for Israel. The Christians have got to stand up and speak for Israel.
So that's the political aspect, but there are now, you mentioned Marxism, there are rallies in the streets. Oh, it's Bob Higley. There are riots in the streets. I don't know about Dallas, but certainly in Atlanta, in Miami, in New York, there are Christian leftists who are out in the streets against Israel.
And I see Jewish far leftists out in the streets against Israel and those pro-Palestinian.
Right.
And I cannot for the life of me comprehend and wrap my head around that. Yeah.
The point is, Christians in those cities don't seem to be coming out to counter those demonstrations. Would you look into the camera and tell Christians what you think they ought to be doing when they see this anti-Israel violence? Because Jews are getting beaten up, stores are getting desecrated, pogroms. Nowadays, since 2020, it's been happening. Now the election year, it's only going to get worse.
It is going to get worse. And there's been one movement, different organizations have different movement just to show our love. There's some movements that are taking bouquets of white roses to the synagogues on behalf of the Christian community to let them know that they're standing with them. Yeah, that's a lovely thing. But whenever we hear the anti-Semitism, whenever we hear it or see it, we have got to stand up against it. We have got to rise up in boldness and stand up and say something and do something and let the Jewish people are not alone. We are here, we've got your backs, and we are going to stand up if we ever see it, if we ever hear it. I don't care if we stand up in a restaurant to shout somebody down who's spewing that garbage at a table. We've got to stand up and have a voice because we cannot be silent. You know, we say never again. It's happening again. Silence is deadly, and we cannot be silent.